Hello and welcome to the Golden Playbook. On today's video, we are going to recap the entire Week 4 slate, starting from Sunday's early morning game in Ireland all the way through the Monday night doubleheader. I'm going to give you my main fantasy takeaways, potential buy low, sell high, waiver pickups, all that jazz is going to be sprinkled throughout the video, so stay tuned. If you are finding this insight useful, please make sure you smash that subscribe button down below and like the video. That really helps grow the channel. But without further ado, let's head to that Dublin, Ireland game. A 24-21 victory for the Steelers over the Vikings. And Jaylen Warren was a late scratch in this one, so if he was stuck in your lineups when you woke up, I do apologize. But with that said, Kenneth Gainwell stepped into his place and played magnificently. 99 yards, 2 scores, as well as 6 receptions. So a very, very large fantasy day for Kenny Gainwell, which is kind of what Jaylen Warren's role would have been. So this would have been a smash spot for Warren. Pittsburgh has a week 5 bye next week, so you'll be without Warren again next week. Rodgers managed the game nicely, an efficient 18 of 22, 200 yards passing and a touchdown, most of that going to DK Metcalf, who broke off the 80-yard touchdown with a vintage DK play there. Finished with 5 for 126 and a touchdown. However, I think this is a great sell high spot for DK. His target share and just the overall passing volume in this offense is not very large, especially in games where they are leading. So I think this is a perfect sell high spot for DK if you can afford to do so, and if a league mate is willing to give you a good player in return. And honestly, no one else on this Steelers offense is really rosterable at this point. I've said that for a while now. Jaylen Warren when he gets back, DK Metcalf, those are kind of where the line ends. On the Vikings side of things, pretty ho-hum day. Carson Wentz ended with 350 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, and this Pittsburgh Steelers defense sacked him 6 times. Jordan Mason got the lion's share of the work on the ground, only turned it into 57 yards, unfortunately. Did get 3 receptions, which is good to see. He's usually not very involved in the passing game. Jordan Jefferson, a nice 10 for 126. You absolutely love to see that. I think so long as Carson Wentz is quarterbacking this Vikings team, Jettas is going to be a very solid start. Jordan Addison, first game back off the suspension, 4 catches, 114 yards, and 8 targets. Got tackled down at the 1 on his long ball. Probably should have gotten the end zone. Neither here nor there. For the rest of the squad, TJ Hawkinson, a ho-hum 4 for 39. And he is really, a backup tight end at this point. If you have a Jawan Johnson, Harold Fannin, Hunter Henry type on your waiver wire, I would highly recommend picking them up. TJ Hawkinson is just not a focal point of this offense. Moving forward, I think Mason is going to continue to get the lion's share. I think weeks that he scores a touchdown, he's going to be great. Weeks he doesn't, he's going to be a little bit underwhelming, but he's just a very good runner of the football. They'll have better matchups ahead. As for the quarterback position, I assume JJ McCarthy will be back, maybe not next week, but the week after. We'll have to see. We'll probably get one more Carson Wentz week, and then kind of see where we're at on the Vikings side of things. Subscribe, you guys, subscribe. As we head to the main slate of games, this first one is a 21-18 surprise victory by the New York Giants over the LA Chargers. This was Jackson Dart's first start, and he looked pretty good. He did a lot of running, a lot of designed runs, a lot of scrambling. Ended with 54 yards and a rushing score. Through the air, he only threw the ball 20 times, 111 yards and a touchdown. Pretty solid on that side of things. The obvious news, Malik Neighbors tore his ACL in this game, out for the season. So very unfortunate for Neighbors owners. That is probably your first round pick, second at the latest. So who's going to step up in that absence of Malik Neighbors? It is likely to be Wan'Dale Robinson. He should be, a real focal point of this offense moving forward. And then Darius Slayton is kind of the other main guy on the outside who should, get some targets in this offense. But with Neighbors being out, I think they're going to move to a very run-heavy, kind of two-headed monster with Scatterbo and Jackson Dart. Scatterbo had most of the opportunities in this one, getting 25 carries and added 2 receptions. Pretty solid fantasy day for not scoring a touchdown. And with that workload, if it continues, Cam Scatterbo is going to be a must-start in your running back too, so long as Tyrone Tracy remains out. On the Chargers side of things, panic meter is really starting to creep up for Ladd McConkey owners. Did get 6 targets, only had 1 catch for 11 yards, which is really rare. He's usually, catching all the balls that come his way. But Quentin Johnston remains, the focal point of this passing attack. Led the team again with 13 targets, 8 catches, 98 yards, and a touchdown. And he is just looking like a whole new player on the outside. So Johnston is a must start week in and week out, operating, as the guy. Keenan Allen, 5 for 37. Another guy you can really kind of, put into your lineups in the flex most weeks. And then on the rushing side of things, Amarian Hampton coming out party, part 2. Obviously last week was tremendous. This week he built on it. 12 carries, 128 yards, and a score, adding 5 catches through the air, and he is getting absolutely prime usage right now. It is all his backfield. He is getting all of the opportunities. You absolutely love to see it. A little bit of a down game from Herbert, 200 yards, touchdown, 2 picks, but I think better things are ahead. Obviously, this was a surprise result for the Chargers. I think this will be a nice little wake-up call that nobody is going to be easy in this league any given Sunday. I think the Chargers have good things ahead. Although I'm slowly hitting the panic meter on Ladd McConkey. But if the Ladd owner in your league is hitting that panic button as well, he could be a buy low candidate. Although it's starting to get a little weary even to buy low on him. He might just be a flat out bust at this point. Next game is a 26-0 victory for the Houston Texans over the Tennessee Titans, who look absolutely dejected. This was not a fun game to watch. However, we have news from Houston. Woody Marks is the new number 1 running back for your Houston Texans, overpassing Nick Chubb over the last couple of weeks with his play. If somehow Woody Marks is available on your waiver wire, I would do everything in my power to go get him. He is looking like a potential league winner down the stretch, so absolutely grab Woody Marks if you are in need of a running back. He is going to have a large role for the rest of the season. He had 69 yards and a touchdown on 17 carries, adding 4 catches, 50 yards, and another touchdown through the air. He is a great pass catcher, great runner of the football, and Nick Chubb quite honestly looks like dust. So Woody Marks is a must-add. He's going to be the RB1 moving forward. Nico Collins, 4 for 79 on 6 targets. Not really needing to pass the ball much against this Tennessee Titans team, who's very, very dejected. Truly, no other receiving options really valuable at this point. Nico Collins, you're throwing into your starting lineup week in, week out. Now, Woody Marks is a great RB2 to throw in, especially as the bye weeks are coming. CJ Stroud looked decent in this one. He's just really not getting it done fantasy-wise. You're not feeling comfortable starting CJ Stroud. On the other side of things, you're not feeling comfortable with anybody on this Tennessee Titans offense. Tony Pollard obviously still getting the workload, but it's just not turning into anything on this horrible offense. 14 carries, 64 yards, adds 3 receptions. It's a 10-point fantasy day. What do you want? It's not great as long as he doesn't score. Calvin Ridley, 3 targets, catches 2 of them for 30 yards. Not great. A guy I've been talking about the last few weeks, Alec Ayumanor, leads the team with 7 targets, only grabs 2 catches for 44 yards. He is a deep stash guy that you could have late on your bench. Cam Ward has just not looked great yet this season. Hopefully things turn around for those Tennessee Titans. Next game up is a 34-27 victory by the Atlanta Falcons over the Washington Commanders, and this was a giant bounce back from the Falcons offense compared to getting shut out last week against Carolina. Bijan does Bijan things. 75 yards and a touchdown on the ground, adds 4 catches for 106 yards receiving. Absolute monster. You're feeling very good about Bijan Robinson at this point. Algier remains to be, a second guy there. Gets 16 carries in this one because they're kind of dominating. Also scores a touchdown in his own right. But I'm not too upset about it if you're a Bijan owner. He is getting it done and then some. Drake London, big bounce back spot here. 8 catches, 110 yards, and a touchdown. He is looking great. Led the team in targets. And I will add Darnell Mooney left this game with a hamstring injury. Probably out for at least next week. And in games where Darnell Mooney has missed, Drake London has absolutely smashed, okay? So if the Drake London owner is not really believing it, or even like a slight buy high or buy medium on Drake London, he is an absolute smash spot when Darnell Mooney misses. And then I would be remiss not to add that Kyle Pitts is looking very good, the best he's looked since his rookie season, in my opinion. 5 catches, 70 yards, and a touchdown. And he actually had a red zone play designed for him and ended in a touchdown. That is absolute rare to see, but obviously awesome. Kyle Pitts, a decent starting tight end at this point. Tight ends aren't really going out and scoring a ton of points right now, so Kyle Pitts is a very solid option. On the Washington side of things, Terry McLaurin was out on this game, which led to Deebo Samuel being the wide receiver 1. Finishes 6 for 72 and a touchdown. Really gets it done. The backfield is still anyone's game. Chris Rodriguez gets some burn. JCM gets some burn. So until Jaden Daniels is back, which it sounds like maybe next week, we have to really see how this backfield kind of ends up once they have the main quarterback in and they're running their offense as they choose. If Terry McLaurin remains to be out, Deebo Samuel will remain in that wide receiver 1 role and continue to smash. So you are rolling him out in your starting lineup every week until further notice. No other receiving options really valuable at this time in Washington. Next up, a 31-19 victory by the Bills over the New Orleans Saints. James Cook just continues to be an absolute monster. 22 carries, 117 yards and a touchdown. Adds 3 receptions for 18 yards. His usage is so much better this season than last year, and he is one of the best picks in fantasy up to this point. Khalil Shakir gets it done again on limited targets, 5 for 69 and a touchdown. Keon Coleman, when Bills are in these games where they're leading, they're not going to need to pass the ball much. Obviously, only 22 pass attempts in this one. Dalton Kincaid finds the end zone again. His end zone luck has been unreal, but only 2 targets, so you're not really loving it. At some point, the touchdown regression will come for Kincaid, and he will prove to not be a great option. But like I said, when the Bills are ahead, the passing attack is just not going to be needed as much. Josh Allen gets it done, 3 total touchdowns, about 250 yards. So very solid day out of the MVP, but James Cook is the focal point of this offense, and he is absolutely dominating. On the Saints side of things, kind of a tough day for everyone involved. Although I will say Kendre Miller looked very, very good in this one. 11 carries, 65 yards, and a rushing score. He was used a lot more than he has been in weeks past. Kamara looks solid in his own right, but I will say Kendre Miller getting a lot more usage in this one. That'll be something to look out for. Kamara added 4 receptions, only 2 yards on it. Chris Olave, kind of the lone guy who gets it done through the air with the scoring touchdown. 3 for 20 and the score. Led the team with 6 targets. Chris Olave is a very solid piece to continue to roll out, in your flex, your wide receiver 3, what have you. Juwan Johnson, kind of a quiet game. I expect a potential bounce back out of him. Rattler kind of not pretty, but continues to get it done for the fantasy options in this offense. We'll kind of see if they stick with him, being that they're 0-4 and that he has yet to win a start. But as long as he is, looking good for Olave, solid for Kamara, and I expect a Juwan Johnson bounce back like I mentioned. Next up, another ugly victory for the Philadelphia Eagles, 31-25 over the Tampa Bay Bucks. Jalen Hurts only 130 yards passing, 2 touchdowns, and has 62 yards on the ground. Another bust game out of A.J. Brown. Dallas Goedert gets the 2 scores, so he gets it done, but another bust game for Devontae Smith, A.J. Brown. A.J. Brown did get the 9 targets in this game, but 2 catches for 7 yards, obviously not exciting at all. Saquon Barkley continues to be extremely inefficient, which is very, very different from last year when he was obviously breaking off those large runs. 19 carries, 43 yards, and a touchdown. Just not looking like himself. That O-line is not getting the push that they did obviously last season. But he got most of the work. Nothing's going to change. You're going to continue to roll out Saquon Barkley. Going to continue to roll out Jalen Hurts. Goddard seems to be a fine tight end option. Obviously, if he doesn't score, it's 4 for 37, whatever. And unfortunately, we keep rolling A.J. Brown out in our starting lineups, but 3-1 on bad games to good. So we'll have to see how that plays out. On the Bucs side of things, it was the Bucky Irving and Emeka Egbuka show. Baker Mayfield doing all he can with the depleted room. Bucky Irving ends with 15 carries, 63 yards, and then a 100-yard game and a touchdown through the air with an absolute beauty of a 72-yard touchdown score. Great game out of Bucky. Emeka, 4 for 101 and a touchdown in the first game in his pseudo wide receiver 1 role. Gets 10 targets. You absolutely love to see it. This was also the first Chris Godwin game back. He had 10 targets, only ended with 3 receptions for 26 yards, and frankly, he looked real bad, real rusty. But that makes for a pretty good buy low spot You love to see the 10 targets. That usage is great. Obviously, Mike Evans is going to be out for a little while longer. I think if the Godwin owner in your league is willing to give him up for, cheap, just because he didn't perform very well in his first game back. He ran a lot of the routes, obviously got the 10 targets like I mentioned. I think Godwin could have a good role moving forward. We obviously know what Baker and Godwin have done in the past. Baker continues to play very well. You're going to keep rolling him out. Bucky, obviously a smash spot, and Ibuka keeps getting it done. All these guys, great fantasy options moving forward. Next game is a 34-10 victory by the Detroit Lions over the Cleveland Browns. And Detroit really pretty dominated this one. Jahmyr Gibbs having a great day and Amon-Ra having a great day. Gibbs, 91 yards and a touchdown, adding a couple of receptions. Amon-Ra St. Brown, 7 for 70 and 2 scores, gets it done. Jared Goff didn't have to do much more than that, so only finished with a $168 and the 2 scores. David Montgomery bottled up in this one. Only 12 yards on 9 carries after his extreme explosive game last week. And Jameson Williams, only 2 catches for 40 yards on the 8 targets. You don't love to see it. He's having more bust than boom games this season. Jameson Williams is just, not a comfortable guy to have in your starting lineup at this point. I think games where they need to throw the ball more, obviously you hope that he gets more involved. But it's really the Amon-Ra show like we know. And sometimes Laporta, sometimes not. Really uncomfortable outside of Gibbs and Amon-Ra on the Lions side. For the Browns side, their offense continues to look very, very poor, but they continue to have lots of pass attempts, which is good. The lone bright spot continues to be Quinshon Judkins, who is getting it done on the ground. 82 yards and a touchdown. Adds 4 receptions for 33 yards. So he is a very, very solid RB2 right now. And if you took the gamble drafting him, he is paying dividends. I will say Cedric Tillman left this game with a hamstring injury and is going to be out for a few weeks. So that kind of condenses things a little bit for this passing attack. Isaiah Bond has been a guy who is continuing to get more snaps and more targets. So that's an interesting guy to look at on the waivers if you're needing a little bit of a deeper guy. Jerry Jeudy gets the 9 targets. You're expecting that to result a little bit more than 3 for 48. This could mean an uptick for Harold Fannin, David Njoku. We kind of have to see. But with Tillman being out, we do get a little bit more condensed, and the pass attempts continue to keep rolling out. So we will have to see who really benefits from the Tillman injury. But like I said, Isaiah Bond, sneaky waiver pickup. And I think Harold Fannin's role could increase a little bit as well. Next up was a 42-13 beatdown by the Patriots over the Panthers. And it seems the Panthers' dominance lasts one singular week, and that was last week. New England looked very, very solid in this one. Drake May only had to throw the ball 17 times. Efficient, 203 yards, 2 touchdowns. Stephon Diggs, kind of a come-out game. 6 for 101, led the team with 7 targets by quite a lot. Hunter Henry gets in the end zone again, so a very solid tight end play there. In the backfield, Ramondre gets the most opportunities, but Travion Henderson looks the best to me. Henderson gets a touchdown, Gibson gets a touchdown, Drake May gets a rushing score. But Henderson's time is coming. We are, one more Ramondre fumble away, and Henderson's just continuing to look better than Ramondre. So Henderson's time is coming. Keep holding on to him. I think he's going to be a potential league winner as well. And then Diggs, hopefully this kind of continues to be the wide receiver 1 role that we are hoping for in the offseason. But very solid game out of New England. Drake May continues to be a very good fantasy quarterback as well. On the Carolina side of things, just an absolute shit show, to be quite frank. Bryce Young, 150 yards and a touchdown. Teteroa McMillan continues to be the lead guy. 4 catches for 62 yards on the 8 targets. And we are truly close to some very, very good games out of Tet McMillan. I think his role and opportunity is just too good to not keep rolling him out in your starting lineup. And I think a boom game is really coming soon. Tommy Tremble filled the role as starting tight end in this one with Jatavian Sanders being out. Had 5 for 42 and a touchdown. So very interesting usage, something to look for if you really need a streaming tight end and maybe you're in a deeper league. Tommy Tremble could be an option for the next couple of weeks. On the ground, Chuba leads with 10 for 49, but doesn't really get it done. Panthers offense just didn't look great. Panthers as a whole didn't look great. So outside of Teteroa McMillan, not really any options I'm very excited to start. Obviously, you're kind of rolling out Chuba Hubbard as your RB2, but you don't feel good about it. Next up, a 26-21 victory by the Jacksonville Jaguars over the 49ers. And the Jags continue to find ways to win ball games, albeit not very pretty on the offensive side, outside of Travis Etienne Jr., who has another great game on the ground. 19 carries, 124 yards, and a touchdown. Adds 1 reception, but really he is getting it done on the ground. He has a stranglehold on this backfield and not letting Bashal Tutin get many opportunities, which is good for Travis Etienne Jr. You know, you're going to ride the hot hand while you can. He is a guy I would potentially sell high on personally, but if you want to keep riding it out and throwing him in your RB2 slot, albeit he is doing very, very solid. Obviously, the big talk at the town has been BTJ and his lack of production. Gets 5 for 49 on 7 targets in this one. Still doesn't look pretty, doesn't look great. There's just not much to say about BTJ. You continue to roll him out into your lineup, but it's just not really getting the job done. His chemistry with Trevor Lawrence doesn't look great. Brenton Strange, another 6 for 45. I'm very comfortable rolling Brenton Strange out into your starting tight end spot. Week in and week out, he's continuing to get these opportunities. Travis Hunter gets a little bit more opportunity in this one on offense. 5 targets, only has 3 for 42. They keep switching back and forth what his role is, what his usage is. You know, you can hold on to him if you want on the bench. It's just hard to kind of predict how much of a role he has week in, week out. On the San Fran side of things, McCaffrey continues to do McCaffrey things, leads the team in targets, receptions, yards, scores a touchdown, continues to be inefficient on the ground. But this Jacksonville Jaguars defense, especially the run defense, is much more stout than we thought it would be. Ricky Pearsall banged up in this one with a knee injury. He kind of held himself out of the fourth quarter. So we'll have to see what his availability is next week. They play on Thursday, so it's kind of a short turnaround. Juwan Jennings banged up as usual, only had 2 for 24. We'll have to see if these guys play, although it's just kind of a mismatch in that receiving group behind Christian McCaffrey. Purdy looked decent in his first game. Not great, not horrible. I think the toe is still bothering a bit, so we'll have to see how they look. They have the short week, like I said. Quick turnaround for the Niners. Next up, a 27-20 victory by the Rams over the Colts. And this was the game I was most looking forward to heading into the slate. And it really did not disappoint. Matthew Stafford, 375 yards and 3 scores. 13 for 170 and a touchdown. Puka is the absolute wide receiver 1 alpha dog. He is the man. You're getting a solid role every week. He is never showing up to the ballpark and going to end with 5 for 43. It just ain't happening. Puka is the focal point. He is awesome. Devontae Adams, a nice 4 for 56 and a touchdown. You're feeling pretty good about that. Obviously, Tutu Atwell had the long touchdown score, but you're not rostering him. That is just kind of a one-off. His role is not nearly enough. This is a two-headed threat in the receiving room with Puka and Adams. Kyron Williams continues to look good, looks efficient ever since we got called out that Blake Corum's going to be playing more, which he is. Kyron Williams has really looked more efficient. Obviously didn't get a score in this one, so kind of hurts his fantasy day, but he looked very, very good. Continue to roll him out. On the Indy side of things, Daniel Jones looked pretty solid, and obviously he could have had a bigger day if Adonai Mitchell did not fumble that ball through the back of the end zone. Although Adonai had a nice catch on that one, should have been for a touchdown. Michael Pittman gets it done again, leads the team with 10 targets, 5 for 41 and a touchdown. And you're honestly rolling Pittman out in your starting lineup every week. Tyler Warren continues to be a dog, 5 for 70 through the air and a rushing score, which, Jonathan Taylor owners, you are very unfortunate that Warren vultured to score and then Adonai Mitchell had a holding call on a 45-yarder. So Jonathan Taylor's day could have and should have been much bigger. This Colts offense continues to be, a fantasy gold mine. So you just continue to roll out your Colts players on a week-to-week basis. They are producing at a very high level for fantasy. All right, and then perhaps the most shocking result of the weekend was a 37-20 victory by the Chiefs over the Ravens. And the Chiefs looked like the vintage Chiefs in this one. Xavier Worthy being back obviously helped in a huge, huge way. Mahomes, 270 yards, 4 touchdowns, looked like the absolute man. On the ground game, continues to be inefficient by anyone involved. Pacheco, Kareem Hunt, not looking great. Xavier Worthy leads the squad in rushing with 2 carries for 38 yards. He also leads the team in receiving, 5 for 83. Worthy's role was tremendous. He is going to be a guy to throw into your starting lineup until the wheels fall off. Hopefully he stays healthy. Travis Kelce finished with 5 for 48, but his role, his usage was not nearly as good. His snap percentage was way down, so a little bit concerning for Kelce. If someone in your league you can kind of trade Kelce for and get a little tight end in return, I wouldn't hate it. Kelce's usage is way, way down, with the age. And then all these ancillary guys scored in this one. Hollywood, Juju, Tyquan Thornton all scored. Tyquan Thornton only 2 targets and Worthy's return. So it seems his role might get diminished with the Xavier Worthy return. We will have to see if that trend continues on the Baltimore side of things. Lamar Jackson does leave this one with a hamstring strain. We don't know how serious. We'll have to see if he is available to play next week. Today Flowers gets it done, 7 for 74, pretty solid game. Mark Andrews with a PPR scam of a game, 7 for 30. And then Justice Hill gets it done randomly, 2 scores, over 100 total yards. Another down game for Derrick Henry, only gets 8 carries in this one. They kind of got down early and weren't able to lean on Derrick Henry. I think better things are ahead. Obviously, we have to see if Lamar Jackson plays, but better things should be ahead for this Baltimore squad. At least they better be, because they are 1-3 and at danger of missing the playoffs. They need to turn it around fast. The last game of the main slate was a 25-24 victory by the Bears over the Raiders. To be quite honest, this was a sloppy game overall. The clear bright spot on the Bears team is Rome Odunze. Congratulations, he is the wide receiver 1 in Chicago. 4 for 69 and a touchdown. Looked very, very good. DJ Moore, only 5 targets again, 4 for 38. He's just not getting the usage we were hoping for. DeAndre Swift, pretty inefficient on the ground, does get a score though, so decent fantasy day out of him. I'm a little bit shocked this Bears team didn't carve up the Raiders a little better. Max Crosby kind of dominated this game on the line a little bit. I think Chicago will have a better offensive games moving forward. And then on the Raiders side, welcome to the NFL, Ashton Jeanty. A 3-touchdown game, 138 yards on the ground, 2 catches, 17 yards, 2 scores. Absolutely the lone bright spot for the Raiders. Had an absolute boom of a fantasy game. Geno looked like hot doo-doo in this one. 3 picks, 117 yards, 2 scores. Did not look good for Geno Smith, unfortunately. Against the Bears defense, who has been real suspect at best up to this point. Hopefully they turn it around as well. Brock Bowers, 5 for 46. Really need the guy to get healthy, get that knee right. But you're still rolling him out in your starting lineup so long as he plays. And a guy who I thought was going to have a really good game, Jacoby Myers, led the team with 7 targets, but only had 4 catches for 30 yards. I think better things will be ahead. I think they'll continue to be down in ball games and need to throw the ball. We, quite frankly, just need Geno Smith to play a whole lot better. But Ashton Jeanty, welcome to the party. Looking like a stud of a running back, as we all predicted, or at least I predicted. And I hadn't given up on him yet, so I hope you didn't either. And the Sunday nightcap between the Packers and the Cowboys ended in a 40-40 tie. And this was a crazy, crazy game, especially in the fourth quarter. We'll start on the Green Bay side of things. Jordan Love, 337 yards, 3 touchdowns. Looked very solid in this one. All 3 scores going to Romeo Doubs. So if you have Romeo Doubs, congrats. 6 for 58 and 3 touchdowns. Continuing to operate as Jordan Love's favorite target, especially in the red zone. Josh Jacobs had a smash game in this one. 86 yards, 2 touchdowns. Added 4 receptions for 71 yards. Great boom game out of Jacobs. Matthew Golden finally got it going a little. 5 for 58 on 6 targets. Hopefully his usage continues to grow. And then Tucker Kraft, 5 for 56. And he was very, very close to scoring 2 touchdowns in this one. So absolutely could have had a better game. With that Jaden Reed injury a few weeks back, this has kind of gotten condensed down. Romeo Doubs, Matthew Golden, Tucker Kraft are the clear top 3 options, with Dontavian Wicks being a little bit behind those 3. I think you're rolling these Green Bay guys out week in and week out. Their offense is looking great. On the Dallas side of things, Dak Prescott played out of his mind in this game, 319 yards for 3 touchdowns, and really put the team on his back. George Pickens, 8 for 134 and 2. Absolutely great game in the first one, operating without CeeDee Lamb. Jake Ferguson, another very good game, 7 for 40 and a touchdown. Jake Ferguson is an absolute top 3 tight end right now with CeeDee Lamb out. You're feeling very good about Fergie in your tight end spot. On the ground, continues to be Javonte Williams' game. Sanders got his ankle rolled up on in this one, So probably out next week. Maybe the rookie Jaden Blue is active, but Javonte Williams is earning that starting role and earning it in a big way. Continues to get it done. You're feeling so good about your Javonte Williams pick at this point. Honestly, if you just played guys from this game on both sides, you would have had a very good fantasy day. Good stuff from the Packers and the Cowboys. Let's hope they can continue rolling. I believe the Packers are on bye next week, so we'll have to see after that. And then we'll head to the Monday night doubleheader. And the first game of the doubleheader was a 27-21 victory by the Dolphins over the Jets. And the big storyline of this game is Tyreek Hill with a major knee leg injury. He is definitely going to be out for the season, unfortunately. Thoughts go out to Tyreek, obviously. Malik with the ACL, Tyreek with the major knee injury. Just a tough week for the stud receivers. Had 6 for 67 before he got injured and was still the leading receiver for the team. But Miami will have to see what they do without Tyreek moving forward. We'll see if Jalen Waddle steps up. Darren Waller steps up in this one in his first game back since retirement. Scores 2 touchdowns in this one. We'll see what his usage looks like. I don't think I would be picking him up quite yet in redraft leagues just because his usage has been pretty slim despite the 2 touchdowns. Devon Achane gets it done, of course, this time on the ground, not as involved in the pass game as usual, but with Tyreek being out, like I mentioned, Achane's role in the pass game will only increase in the coming weeks. Tua, does what he needs to do to get the job done. Doesn't look pretty, but suffices. On the Jets side of things, Justin Fields' first game back from the concussion has a nice long touchdown run, ends with 81 rushing yards, a touchdown, as well as 226 pass yards and a touchdown through the air. So Justin Fields gets home. Breece Hall looked very good in this one. Ended up with 5 receptions for 30 yards and 81 yards on the ground. Did not get in the end zone, unfortunately, but Braylon Allen did lead this game with a knee injury. So expect Breece Hall's usage to increase even more over the coming weeks. And Garrett Wilson gets it done at the last minute with an unreal touchdown catch. Finishes with 6 for 82 and a touchdown, which is really good with Justin Fields being his quarterback. So G. Wilson gets it done because he is a stud. And Mason Taylor got an uptick in snaps and targets in this one. 5 for 65. He is another guy, as bye weeks come and injuries come, he is a deep sleeper to look out for, to pick up and fill in your tight end position, especially if he's going to get this target share. And the second game of the doubleheader was an absolute snooze fest, a 28-3 victory by the Broncos over the Bengals. And the Bengals looked absolutely dismal. They can get nothing going without Burrow. Their defense isn't very good. Their offense looks horrible. It is really bad for the Cincinnati Bengals and their fantasy assets. But we'll start with the Denver side. Just about everyone gets it done. Bo Nix, 326 yards, couple of touchdowns, and a rushing score. Cortland Sutton, 5 for 81 and a touchdown. Marvin Mims, 6 for 69 and a rushing score. Dobbins gets 100 yards on the ground. RJ Harvey gets 50 yards on the ground, plus some receiving work and a receiving touchdown. Just about everyone comes through for Denver, and they look very solid, especially going against that poor Cincinnati Bengals defense. Not every week will look like this for Denver, of course. They are producing some very solid fantasy assets, and J.K. Dobbins continues to be a beast on the ground. He has been a steal where you had to draft him so far this season. On the Bengals side, as I mentioned, just poor things. Chase Brown finally averaged 4 yards a carry, but, they were down by so much it didn't even matter. T, 3 for 32. Jamar Chase, 5 for 23. Just no downfield threat, obviously, if you're looking at the yardages. So really unfortunate. A lot of these Cincinnati Bengals, players are not playable in your starting lineup. I would even start to think about sitting Jamar Chase, as crazy as it sounds. I know he was probably the 101 in your league. Definitely your first round pick. But you probably have better options, or with bye weeks coming up, you'll have to play him anyway. But we might have to sit all of these Bengals options right now until further notice, or especially until we get a better matchup. Going against the Denver Broncos defense was never going to result good for these Cincinnati Bengals, and it showed. Not a single one came home for fantasy reasons. But that is going to do it for our Week 4 recap. I hope it all went well for you. Drop down in the comments what your record is and how it is looking to make the playoffs. While you're down there, hit that like button. hit that subscribe button. I really do appreciate all the support. Stay tuned for Saturday's episode. We will, of course, do our start sit segment as well as make another underdog pick'em, and we will do a giveaway if we hit the pick'em. So subscribe so you can stay tuned for that. That'll be coming out on Saturday. Appreciate the support. We'll catch you on the next one. Peace.